was a better day. Team started out faster, and we didn't waste 30 minutes of practice trying to get guys cranked up and ready to go. So it was a much better day today. So thought that we got a lot done in preparation. It was very physical, and again, it was hot, which is good for the players to be out there and exert themselves in the heat. So it worked out really well.
Mike, can you talk about the overall depth of your team right now? Is it kind of where you need it 2 weeks before the regular season gets going?
Well, we would always like to be deeper. You know, we never, at this point, have been deep enough at the defensive tackle spot, and we always would like to have more safeties and corners. You know, we're playing with 2.5 and 3. We'd like to have 4, but we're closer. You know, we're better off now than we were a year ago, and next year we'll be better than we were this year.
Both Gunner and Bill Young talked about seeing a lot of good things out of the younger players. Not necessarily that's going to keep them from being redshirted, but, boy, they're really high on some of the young guys on this football team right now.
It's a good freshman class. There's a lot of character in this class. Originally only thought we'd play maybe 1 or 2, but there's a possibility of maybe up to 6 now, guys that have stayed healthy and really competed well. So if they're in the mix, we'll play them. And it just depends on how they hold up really these next 5 or 6 practices all the way through the middle of next week.
Yeah, both those guys said Joe DeForest is a popular guy because they're all campaigning guys off their side of the ball to be on special teams and keep them from being redshirted.
There are some freshmen that want to play as a true freshman, and they're not concerned with total number of reps by position. You know, they're okay with 50 reps as long as they get another 50 on special teams, and because of that, they're all out there working hard because they know that if they do a good job, Joe's going to play them on special teams.
Who are those guys, Mike?
Well, we're not sure right now. You know, it just depends on the health of our team, you know. But there are a number of guys that have done well, you know, not many linemen, more skill guys. Good.
Well, talk about Keith Toston a little bit. I mean, you know, here's a guy that probably could have left at some point and said, I want more playing time. Just talk about what he means to this program.
Well, Keith's been kind of a warrior for us, and he's going to get a lot of reps this year. He's very reliable. He's run the ball better in this preseason camp than he ever has. You know, up to this point, he's run the ball very well in live drills. He's got good hands and he's smart. He's been a good blocker. He's improved his blocking considerably in the last 5 or 6 months.
Is this a tough time as a coach? Because I'm reading reports on schools all over the country, and you know whether it's guys that are nicked up, whether it's teams that their coach thinks they're tired. Is it tough as a coach right now, kind of in that middle zone before the first game, to know how hard to push the pedal?
You are, and they are tired. But that's the way it's supposed to be. You know, we had to push them to the limit now. There's a lot of strains and pulls and guys that are sore, but they have to fight through it. You know, it's part of football. I don't know that anybody really has the answer to how much you practice and how much you run them. You got to go by the feel of the team, and these guys have held up and done a good job. But there's going to be some strains and pulls and guys that are sore, and they just have to push through it.
Go ahead, Robert.
It's also funny, too, to see how few coaches there are that are real happy with their team right now. I mean, you can look – Urban Meyer had a comment that we're not practicing like a top 10 team, that kind of deal. And that's kind of natural for coaches, I guess, isn't it?
Well, I think it is. I think you always see more of the bad than you do the good. I mean, I'm fairly happy with our team. I like our effort. I like their attitude. I didn't like the first 30 minutes yesterday.
Right.
And there's always times you look and you see guys that aren't practicing as well as you want them to, but then if you look real close, they're usually a first-year player or a redshirt player. Most of our veteran guys are practicing pretty well.
How did this shortened camp and the early start of classes impact not only how you handled the camp, but also how you're dealing with this week and your overall preparation, because the calendar is a little unusual?
Well, our reps stay the same, but there's a lot of distractions right now with going back to school and with what all is going on out there because we can't keep them in camp. They're out there on campus. There's a lot going on right now. So the most difficult thing we're doing right now, or trying to do, is keep them focused and concentrating on preparing and getting ready to play in the game.
Are you worried at all about because this is uncharted territory for Oklahoma State, worried about the expectations and hype that are out there, or do you feel like this is a group that's savvy enough to ignore a lot of that?
Well, I think you always worry about it, but I think the only thing you can do is buckle down and go to work. And, like I said, when you start school this early, there's a lot going on out there. You got 19,000 students here. You got a lot of cute girls out there. There's a lot of things going on, and so guys have to focus. And we're trying to reel them in. We've still got 12, 13 practices before we have to play a game. So we're trying to reel them in here and get them focused on the first game.
Mike, this is the last availability before the luncheon. I don't imagine the backup quarterback spot was decided today, was it?
No, we talked about that yesterday, and it just hasn't been. Both guys are better still at this point, but nobody has reached out and got it. And we're just not going to give it up to the guy that unless the guy takes it. And it has not happened yet. But they're still improving, but they're still making mistakes, and eventually one of them's going to have to separate themselves.
So you've led the conference in rushing for 3 years, and so you know day in, day out what your blockers, your linemen look like in practice, and you know how they perform. What you've seen to this point from those 5 guys, whoever those 5 are you confident that you'll get the same level of performance that you've consistently gotten around here?
Yeah, I hope so. We've had new guys that have come in every year, and they've adapted to the system and to the play of the speed of the game. The new guys, it'll be an adjustment for them. There's not really any teaching tool to get them ready for the speed of the game. So you have to understand that there's going to be times they're going to get run by, and they're going to step, and the guy's going to slant across their face, and they're going to throw a no-hitter because it's just moved so fast for them. But as they progress and they mature, I think they'll be fine. We have good young prospects. We just have a couple of them playing that don't have a lot of experience.
Like Robert talked about the expectations and how that affects the team. For you personally, when you see a publication pick your offense number 1 in the nation, do you ever go, "Oh, come on," or does the pressure ever get to you as far as you personally as a coach?
Well, first I hadn't seen that, but I'm not
College football days.
Yeah, I'm not up to date on all that, but not really. I think that our staff has a pretty good feel for what we need to do, and we have a good feel for our personnel and who we are. And we've done well the last couple of years because we had skilled guys that could make a play, and we had linemen that covered people up. And we love our tempo. We're going to try to move as fast as we can and find a way to move the ball and score points.
So what level of, and Pettigrew was a big part of your ground game success, huge part of it. How have Mosley and the other tight ends blocked to this point?
Well, they've done well, but they're not in his league. And I don't think that they'll be in his league for at least a year if they ever get there. He was a first-round pick, as we all know. But are they comparable to where Pettigrew was as a sophomore? Getting close to that. But the attitude that Pettigrew brought to the game made such a difference. He was just a true warrior, as I'd said before. But those guys are going to have to step up and make plays. We played 6 games last year without him. And at times, I have to remind myself of that because I start looking for him out there, and I'm like, golly, I wish we had him. And then you think, well, we played 6 games without him. So
You beat Missouri without him.
And if somebody would have said before the season last year, you're going to not have him in that stretch and you're going to be whatever we were, 7-0 or whatever, yeah, I would have said, I don't know about that. It'd been hard without him. So hopefully these guys will step up.
At the same time, when you are breaking in new guys, the fact that Russell Okung is so much better than he was a year ago. Kendall Hunter, Keith Toston, those guys get better. That kind of makes up for it too, doesn't it?
Well, Zach should play better, and Kendall continues to improve and become an overall player. Kendall was a really good runner and then a great runner, and now he's becoming more of a complete player. Keith Toston's more of a complete player. We like Bo Johnson. Bo was out a couple days. Bo's been back out there, and Dez is Dez. And so, guys just have to stay focused and go play. And, that's all they can do. All we can ask is that they prepare and go play hard.
Mike, you've always said it was your intention that one of the things you guys could do here was take care of the players to the utmost, the best of everything. Are you about as close to being able to not just promise it but deliver it now?
Well, we think that the everyday activity of a player and our ability to take care of them is more important than anything else you can do in recruiting. Treat them like your own son and give them what they need to be successful in the classroom and on the field. And with the new facility and everything else that we've had tied into it, I would challenge anybody in the country right now to an everyday lifestyle for a player. And that's commitments made by the coaching staff and by the athletic director. mean, that's the path that we and Coach Holder choose to take, and because of that, it's worked for us, and seems to be working in recruiting it this year up to this point.
How nice it must be now to be able to not just say, hey, we're going to do this for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of promises being made here for 10 years. When Coach Miles and I first came back, and the plans in the south side and then the north side and then more plans, and there's a lot of promises, and it's nice that we could follow through on those and make it a two-way street.
So compare the training table of today to what you guys had as when you played here.
Well, I mean, we didn't have a training table. We just were like everybody else. We didn't have a training table. Now we have our own chefs, and they prepare the best food there is, and it's divided up by no fat and low fat and high fat and everything a guy would need. So, I mean, it's as good as it gets. We just have to continue to perform well and do the right thing here, and then hopefully it'll be good for a long time.
What else do you look at and say, man, I wish we had that when I was here?
Well, I mean, you look at the stadium and you see the aesthetic part of it from the outside. You see we're bowled in now. We have a tremendous stadium compared to grass on the sides and essentially high school stands in the end zone and the high school scoreboard. The apartments our players live in are as good as you can get. Academic services, we didn't have academic service. We went in the front of a auditorium and went out the back door. I mean, we just walked in and walked out. Nobody was checking study hall. And now these guys have everything they need to be successful. But one thing that we all have to remember, and Coach Holder reminded our staff this several months ago, is that a facility is not going to win games for you. And he commented on the success he had as a golf coach, and then he built his new facility, and he didn't have as much success as he did prior to that.
You had it. I'm sorry.
So my point is that we have to stay focused and remember that the hard work and everything else is what got us to this point. The facility just helps bring people here.
You've had a flurry of high-end activity in recruiting last week or so. I know you can't comment specifically, but has the magazine cover been kind of a deal closer in some regards, or a door opener maybe in some regards?
It's hard to say. You never know how much you get out of a Sports Illustrated cover, college football news, whatever they say. It's interesting. I get text messages from friends all over the country, some of them involved in football and some of them not, that, every time we turn the TV on, something about Oklahoma State's on ESPN or something about Oklahoma State's on Fox Sports. And now I don't see that because I don't ever turn the TV on, but I'm guessing that's making a difference. That'd be my guess.